If your business is growing, you may need to take on someone to help. If so, you should make sure they will fit in and do a good job. We'll answer some of the frequently asked questions about taking on new people, starting with your decision to recruit. We'll look at the types of worker to consider, how to choose and interview applicants, and finally, how to appoint someone. The process of choosing, interviewing and recruiting new people can be time-consuming and costly. Being aware of the issues can help you to get it right from the start. So, how do you know when you need to take on new people? There will usually be some warning signs. For example, if you already have people working for you, do they often have to stay late to get through their workload? If so, chances are they'll also be complaining about their workload or showing more signs of tiredness or illness than usual. Perhaps there's a steady increase in sales, or you've spotted an opportunity that you can't manage unless you take on additional people. You might have reviewed your business plan and set yourself the goal of growing your business. These are all reasons why businesses decide to recruit. So, once you've decided to recruit, have you thought about the type of worker you need? There are several things to think about. For example, do you want extra staff to cover a short-term need? This is particularly relevant for seasonal businesses that have peaks at certain times, like over the summer or during school holidays. Maybe you've just received a big order or have a large project for a few months. Your options here include taking on agency workers or temps, employing someone on a fixed-term contract or using a freelancer. Now, let's think about how you choose the right people. First, you'll need to create a person specification and a job description so that you're clear about the type of person you're looking for and the skills they should have. This will also help you to create a job advert if you need one and to compare applicants fairly and consistently. It will also be useful if you decide to use an employment agency. A person specification lists the knowledge, skills, qualifications or experience that are essential and those that are desirable for applicants to have. The next step is to consider what you should put in a job advert. Keep it brief, but with enough information to help candidates decide whether they want to apply. Give the job title or a description, along with where it's based and the pay range. Summarise the skills and experience needed. Finally, explain how people should apply. Do you prefer them to send a CV, or do you have an application form for them to complete? Include a deadline for replies, allowing time for people to see the advert and submit their applications. Where you advertise will depend on your location, the type of job and your budget. If you use the local or national press, make sure your advert will also appear in any online editions. You can also consider trade or specialist publications or websites and business or social networking websites. You can also advertise at job centres or use a recruitment agency. So, which is best, CV or application form? Well, there are advantages and disadvantages to both methods. One of the main advantages of an application form is that the questions will limit the information to what you want to know. They also make it easy for you to compare applicants' skills and experience, but they're time-consuming and sometimes difficult to prepare, as they must be easy to fill in with clear instructions. It could cost you a lot if you have to send them by post. Sending them by email is obviously much easier and costs less. A form might also put some people off applying, especially if it's very long. Asking for a CV reduces your administration at the outset. Another benefit is that you get brief details of people's work history, skills and experience, so you can quickly skim through them to choose who to interview. People can often submit a CV fairly quickly, which can help to speed up the recruitment process. Receiving a short covering letter with a CV can also give you an idea about applicant suitability for the job. One of the main downsides is when comparing different candidates. This can be harder to do with CVs than standard application forms. OK, so once you've received applications, how do you decide who to interview? To save time, you may need to be quite ruthless about discarding a number of applications. Do this by comparing applications against the job description and person specification, ruling out anyone who doesn't have the essential requirements. Then, read the remaining applications in more detail, discarding more as you go along. Decide how many people you want to interview, and then create a shortlist of suitable candidates. If you still have too many, you can then look at who has the skills and experience you listed as essential to reduce the list again. We've looked at the early stages of recruitment. Your next step is to invite the people you've chosen for an interview. Let's move on to consider how you go about interviewing people. Start by planning your time and create any tests or practical tasks you want people to do. You can probably interview 3 or 4 people a day, but if there are more, spread the interviews out over several days so you can keep on top of your usual work. You can phone, email or write to the interviewees with your contact details, where and when the interview will be held and how long it's likely to last. Give a map or travel details to help them find you. If they're going to do a test or practical task, give them an idea of what this will involve. Make sure you have a quiet room or area reserved for the interviews where you won't be interrupted. During interviews, make sure the applicants have time to think and speak, but keep the conversation on track if you need to. If you take notes, don't let it distract you from listening. You can make additional notes after the interview. Only write down what was said in the interview and how you reached the selection decision, not your own thoughts or judgments of the candidates. If you're asking people to do a test or a practical task, make sure they understand it and tell them how long they will have to do it. For some jobs, aptitude or other assessment techniques like psychometric testing might be used. These are designed to assess things like how people work, what they would be like in a team and so on. This is a complicated area and you should take advice before using this type of assessment. Who you choose after the interviews will be up to you, based on measurable things like test results and interview answers, and also how they would fit in with your business and existing employees. You might also just get a feel for who would be best for the job. The more interviews you do, the more instinctive this will become. If you're not used to recruiting, get other people involved and then they can help you reach a decision about who to take on. After your chosen applicant has accepted the job, don't forget to let the other interviewees know they've been unsuccessful. Once you've made your decision, what kind of pre-employment checks should you carry out? You'll need to check the applicant's identity and that they're entitled to work in the UK. A passport or other official identity document is usually best. You can check employment references either in writing or over the phone. Check qualifications too. You might need to find out how overseas qualifications equate to UK qualifications. Only complete health checks once you've made the job offer, and only if the individual must meet minimum physical requirements to carry out the job. How detailed the assessment is will depend on the job and can range from simply checking the levels of absence in a previous job to a full health assessment. Employing someone as a commercial vehicle driver may mean you'll just have to test their eyesight, for example. Not many jobs require a criminal records check, usually those working with children or vulnerable adults. Contact your criminal records checking service for more advice. Finally, remember that from writing a job description to making the final selection decision, you mustn't discriminate on the grounds of sex, race, religion, age, disability or sexual orientation. So before taking anyone on, make sure you do need to recruit and that you have considered the type of worker you want. Getting the right people at the right time is essential to help you grow your business.